These are a new kind of a roundtable event that we're rolling out here locally. My staff and I have been doing seminars for real estate investors all over the country for about the last two and a half years. And so, ironically, I'm usually used to a room of 150 to 500 people, so it's almost flip-flop to just have 6 or 8. But we kept saying, why aren't we doing more local type education, networking, just putting the word out about what we do, because we feel like, for the same reason that we've sold close to 400 houses in the last 24 months to investors all over the country, and probably only 50 or 60 to local investors. And it kind of reminds me of this story about, did you find it? No. Let me see. Of the investor that lived in Texas, inherited land, turn of the century, and he had been farming it for a long time and finally decided that farming wasn't a good way to get rich, sold the farm, and went to the Klondike to mine for gold, which he failed miserably at, only to find out that the land, the reason nothing grew on his farmland in Texas was because of
oil.
The oil. And so he literally had been sitting on the gold mine. And I found, not being, well, my dad was originally from Indy. I'm not originally from here. He moved away when he was about 20, and so I grew up out on the West Coast in Las Vegas. But I found that a lot of investors, when I moved back here from California, it was in 2004, and the real estate market was going nuts. And I said, well, I came out here to buy houses. And people were like, why Indy? Why did you leave California? Because people's mind, most of the time, as it relates to real estate investing, is by appreciation. And it's like the people that I knew in California who were buying pre-construction a tract home for $200,000 in a four-phase development. So they would buy pre-construction for $200,000, close on it, with the hopes that by the time phase 4 was completed a year later, they could sell it for a $354,000. And I always used to say, that's my new investing strategy. I think I'm just going to do this long term. In 2001, 2002, 2003, when I was out in California, that was their plan. And a lot of people did really well with that. And then they would just roll all the profits back over. And in this new development, they would buy 5 homes, phase 1, to sell in phase 4. And I knew one investor in Riverside County area, just north of San Diego, that they did right before the market crashed in 2005. They did 20 homes in a phase 1 development, and they bought them all cash because they just went pot committee rolling over. And of course, got upside down and ended up just getting hammered on it. But they're renting them now. And so I feel like it's the same way, because this market is now attracting investors from all over the world. We see investors. We get calls in our property. And this is Ashley. She's our office manager for the property management company, and we get calls from UK investors. We manage for investors where Taiwan, Australia, we've had to really kind of learn, the international money language as far as dealing with investors, because they're buying in Indianapolis. And a lot of investors, if you think about it, just think about the exchange rate on the Canadian dollar. And I'm not sure, what is that at right now, John? Do you know?
Off the top of my head.
Yeah, I know it's almost, it's pretty favorable, but if you buy a house in Indy that's a 10% return on investment with Canadian dollars, then with the exchange rate, that ends up being like a 12 to 15% return on your investment. And so that's one of the reasons, as the dollar has weakened, that's made it even more desirable for investors all over the world to buy. And one of the seminar companies that we work with, that's based out of Texas, they're actually actively pushing into Canada this year and into Mexico, because they realize that there's a lot of demand for that. We've been working with a couple guys who are marketing to investors in the UK for the same reasons, because there is no such thing as a $50,000 Speedway house in the UK. Homes start in the 175. Starter homes start in the 175 range. They lack the one thing that we have plenty of here, which is land. Yeah. And so that's where Ryan and Terry and I are all. Ryan and Terry own Place to Live Rentals, and is one of the entities that they're involved in addition, and they were buying houses with me at auction today, so we kind of do a lot of projects together. But we were kind of kicking that idea around a month ago, and we said, we're doing these seminars all over the country for investors from all over the country, that we need to start doing something local. So this is something we're going to try to do a couple times a month and just cover all the different topics that we'll spend 3 or 4 or 5 days teaching to investors.